So, today we're going to tackle a question that sounds really simple, but has shaped the lives of more than 500 million people for centuries. What exactly is Buddhism?
You'd think that'd be an easy one to answer, right? But here's the thing. Depending on who you ask or where in the world you're looking, the answer you get can be wildly different.
So what are we looking at here? Is it a religion with all the rituals and devotion that come with it? Or is it a really deep philosophy about, the nature of reality? Or maybe it's just a practical way of life, a kind of toolkit for your mind to help you navigate the world. And if you're confused, don't worry, you're not alone. It's a super common question because, honestly, Buddhism doesn't fit neatly into any one of those boxes.
All right, so let's dig in and break down why this question is actually way more complicated than it seems.
Think about it. On the one hand, you could walk into a Buddhist temple anywhere in the world, and you'll see all the things you'd expect from a religion, right? You'll see people offering flowers, bowing to statues, monks and nuns, ancient rituals, the whole thing. But then you could go and read the core teachings, and suddenly you're not in a religion anymore. You're diving headfirst into this incredibly deep philosophy, asking huge questions about existence, suffering, and what it even means to be a self. So yeah, it's really tough to just shove it all into one basket. And that's because it was never really designed to fit in one. To really get what Buddhism is all about, we can't just look at it today. We have to go all the way back to the beginning, back to the guy who started it all.
To understand Buddhism, you have to understand its source. And that's the story of a prince whose very personal quest ended up changing the world forever.
Okay, so picture this. Siddhartha Gautama was a prince living a life of absolute luxury, completely shielded from any kind of hardship. But one day, he leaves the palace walls and gets hit with the raw, unfiltered reality of life. He sees sickness, old age, and death for the very first time. And this just shatters his world. It affected him so deeply that he gave up everything, his money, his title, even his family, to find an answer. Now, his goal was not to start a new religion. His goal was to solve what he saw as the fundamental problem of human suffering. And after years of trying everything, from extreme luxury to extreme hardship, he finally found his answer, and he became the Buddha, which just means the awakened one.
And the first thing he taught wasn't some set of beliefs you had to follow blindly. Nope, it was actually much more like a doctor's diagnosis for the entire human condition. The core problem, the big symptom that the Buddha identified, is a concept called dukkha. Now, we usually translate this as suffering, but that doesn't quite get it. It's more subtle. It's that background hum of stress we all live with, that feeling that things just aren't quite right. It's that fundamental sense of unsatisfactoriness that pops up everywhere, from big tragedies to tiny everyday frustrations. And this leads directly to his first big teaching, what we call the Four Noble Truths. And seriously, thinking of it like a doctor's visit is the perfect analogy. First, the doctor gives the diagnosis. Life, by its very nature, involves dukkha. Second, he identifies the cause of the illness. It's our constant craving, our desire, our attachment to things being a certain way. Third, the good news, the prognosis. There is a cure. This suffering can actually end. And fourth, the prescription. Here is the specific path you need to follow to make it happen.
A really simple, kind of punchy way to remember the Four Noble Truths is this. Life sucks. Here's why. You can fix it. Here's how. It just perfectly captures that practical, problem-solving spirit at the absolute heart of what the Buddha was teaching. See? It's not about blind faith. It's about a diagnosis and a clear treatment plan. So what is that treatment plan? Well, the Buddhist prescription is known as the Eightfold Path. This prescription, the Noble Eightfold Path, isn't just a simple to-do list. It's a complete, holistic training program. It all starts with wisdom. That means developing the right view of the world and the right intentions. That then becomes the foundation for living an ethical life, through the way you speak, the way you act, and even how you make a living. And all of that is powered by mental discipline. Things like right effort, mindfulness, and deep concentration. And what's the goal of this whole path? It's something called nirvana. Now, it's really important to get this right. Nirvana is not a heaven, it's not some physical place you go to after you die. It's a state of being, a state of ultimate peace, where the fires of craving, anger, and ignorance are completely put out. And that's what frees you from that stressful cycle of suffering and rebirth.
So that path to nirvana is the absolute core of Buddhism. But, over 2,500 years, as this teaching spread all across the globe, the way people have walked that path is taken on a whole bunch of different forms. And I mean, it really spread. Today, there are over 500 million Buddhists around the world, which makes it one of the major global religions. And its distribution is actually pretty fascinating. For instance, while China has the largest number of Buddhists overall, in countries like Thailand and Cambodia, it's basically the national religion. We're talking over 90% of the entire population identifies as Buddhist. This huge global community is generally broken down into three main traditions, or branches. First up, you have Theravada, which means the way of the elders. You'll find it mostly in Southeast Asia. It really focuses on the original teachings of the Buddha and the individual's path to their own enlightenment.
Next is Mahayana, or the Great Vehicle, which is most common in East Asia. This tradition kind of expanded on the original teachings and introduced this incredible ideal of the Bodhisattva. That's an enlightened being who actually delays their own nirvana out of compassion, to stay and help every other being find their way.
And finally, there's Vajrayana, the Diamond Vehicle, which is most famously associated with Tibet. It builds on the Mahayana ideas, but adds its own unique and powerful techniques, like complex visualizations and mantras, all designed to speed up the path to enlightenment.
So after all that, what is Buddhism? Well, it's a religion, it's a philosophy, and it's a way of life. It's all of those things, born out of one prince's search for an answer to suffering. It offers a diagnosis for our shared human condition and a clear path toward healing. Which really just leaves us with a final question to think about. If the Buddha was right, if our attachments and our cravings are the true source of our stress, what's the one attachment in your life that causes you the most disease?